Admiral Jack Monroe stood at the viewport of the Earth diplomatic vessel, watching the gleaming spiral of Galactic Council headquarters grow larger. His weathered face reflected in the glass, eyes narrowed with determination. This meeting would be Earth's final attempt at diplomacy. "Admiral, we're cleared for docking," said Lieutenant Amy Wilson from her console. "Council representatives will meet us at the primary chamber." Monroe nodded. "Alert Ambassador Hayes and the delegation. It's time." The Earth contingent moved through the ornate corridors of the Council station with military precision. Unlike previous visits filled with curiosity and wonder, today they marched with purpose. The magnificent alien architecture, once a source of awe, now felt like an elaborate facade. Daniel Hayes, Earth's chief ambassador, walked beside Monroe. "They won't take us seriously," he said quietly. "They never have." "Then we make our position clear and we leave," Monroe replied. "The decision is already made." The Council chamber buzzed with representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations. The massive dome overhead displayed a real-time map of the galaxy, territories marked in different colors. Earth's territory, a tiny blue dot on the outer rim, seemed insignificant compared to the vast empires of the founding species. Councillor Drixthar, a tall, multi-limbed being with iridescent skin, presided from the central platform. "The Council recognizes Earth's delegation. You have requested this emergency session. Please state your purpose." Ambassador Hayes stepped forward. "Honorable Council, for 15 years Earth has participated in good faith negotiations regarding border security, trade regulations, and mutual defense. For 15 years, our concerns have been dismissed or delayed." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Valaxian representative chittered something to a neighbor. The Jurethi delegation's tentacles coiled in apparent amusement. "Earth formally notifies the Galactic Council that we are withdrawing from all peace talks, effective immediately," Hayes continued, his voice growing stronger. "Furthermore, all human forces will cease joint operations with Council fleets." The chamber erupted. Drixthar raised several limbs for silence. "Ambassador Hayes, this is most irregular. Your species agreed to the standard century-long integration process. These demands reflect primitive emotional responses typical of newly spacefaring races." Admiral Monroe stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, Earth has contributed more to galactic security in 15 years than several founding members have in centuries. Our patrol fleets have reduced piracy by 63% in the Outer Rim. Our medical technology has been freely shared. Yet when the Draxis Imperium violates our borders, this Council recommends patience and further study. The Draxis situation requires delicate diplomacy," the Jurethi representative interjected. "Your military response would destabilize." 3 human colonies have been raided," Hayes cut in. "Thousands dead. The evidence of Draxis involvement was presented to this Council 6 months ago." From her command chair on the Earth defense vessel Dauntless, Fleet Captain Susan Blake issued orders to the 12 ships under her command. "Disengage from patrol routes. Disable Council transponders. Set course for Earth Rendezvous Point Alpha." Back in the Council chamber, Monroe presented a data crystal. "This contains formal notification of our withdrawal from all treaties. Earth vessels are already disengaging from joint operations." The Valaxian representative rose. "This is outrageous. You cannot simply." "We can and we have," Hayes replied. "Earth stands alone from this moment forward." As the human delegation turned to leave, the chamber dissolved into chaos. Above them, the galactic map flickered as blue dots representing human ships winked out one by one, disappearing from Council tracking systems. On the outer edge of Council space, a sleek vessel unlike any in Earth's known fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. Its hull bore minimal markings, just the name Harbinger and Earth's flag. Inside, Captain Grace Williams studied her scanner readings. "Position confirmed. Phase 1 complete," she reported. "Beginning surveillance operations." The true extent of humanity's plan was only beginning to unfold. Vrinka slammed his three-fingered hand against the holographic display, causing the image to flicker. The intelligence officer's skin had turned a pale yellow, a sign of extreme stress in his species. All of them. Every single human vessel has gone dark, he reported to the emergency council session. No transponder signals, no communication beacons, nothing. Councillor Zrixthar's upper limbs twitched nervously. How is this possible? There were over 200 Earth ships integrated with our defense networks. They've been planning this, Vrinka replied. The disappearances are too coordinated. Across the galaxy, human ships vanished from monitoring systems with practiced efficiency. On the bridge of the Earth corvette Relentless, Commander Diane Russell completed the shutdown sequence. All Council tech is offline. We're running on Earth systems only, she confirmed. Setting course for rendezvous at Jupiter Station. Execute, ordered Captain Greg Barnes. As the ship changed course, he added quietly, let's see them track us now. The mass withdrawal wasn't limited to military assets. At Armstrong Station, the massive orbital habitat that had served as humanity's diplomatic headquarters, an unprecedented evacuation was underway. Final transport leaves in 30 minutes, announced Station Director Linda Powell over the public address system. All personnel must be aboard with essential belongings only. The once bustling corridors echoed with hurried footsteps as the last humans gathered their possessions. Research data was downloaded, personal items packed, and all Earth technology systematically removed or destroyed. Council Liaison Officer Elmar watched in disbelief. You cannot simply abandon this facility. It was built with shared resources. There are agreements. Take it up with Earth government, Powell interrupted, handing him a datapad. This station will be completely evacuated within 24 hours, as stipulated in Section 74 of our withdrawal protocol. But such rapid withdrawal wasn't anticipated for centuries. Powell's expression remained impassive. We always planned for contingencies. On frontier worlds where humans had established outposts alongside other species, the pattern repeated. Settlements emptied overnight, leaving confused aliens and abandoned buildings. In the Council Economic Ministry, Trade Minister Ilorix reviewed catastrophic data projections with trembling appendages. Human markets have closed to all Council transactions. Their banking systems no longer recognize our currency. How bad? Asked a junior minister. 17 member species depend on human agricultural imports. 22 use human medical technology. The resource shortage will become critical within weeks. Vrinka's intelligence team worked frantically to track human movements, but found their efforts frustrated at every turn. They're using some kind of cloaking technology we haven't seen before, an analyst reported. The few ships we can detect are heading toward Earth space, but most have simply disappeared. On the distant human colony world of New Montana, Governor Judy Lewis supervised the activation of previously hidden defense platforms. All civilians evacuated, she asked her security chief. Last transport departed an hour ago. We're the only ones left. Lewis nodded and pressed her palm against a scanner. Massive gun emplacements rose from beneath innocent-looking farm fields. Sensor arrays emerged from mountain peaks. Defenses online. Let's join the exodus. As human presence faded across Council space, strange anomalies began to appear. Automated beacons activated in seemingly empty regions. Sensor ghosts flickered at the edge of detection range. Council ships reported brief contacts with unidentified vessels that disappeared when approached. In her private chambers, Councillor Zrixthar reviewed urgent messages from member worlds. Resource shortages were already beginning. Several frontier outposts reported increased pirate activity in regions formerly patrolled by human ships. They were more integrated into our society than we realized, she murmured. What have we done? The silent retreat continued with methodical precision, leaving only questions and growing unease in its wake. Day 14 of the human withdrawal brought the first truly critical shortages to Council worlds. On the agricultural planet Velos Prime, Crowds gathered outside government distribution centers, their varied alien forms unified by hunger and fear. "The shipment should have arrived yesterday," muttered Administrator Klee to his assistant. "Without human grain supplies, we have only 3 days of reserves left." Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. Medical facilities ran low on supplies that had previously arrived like clockwork from human manufacturing centers. Construction projects halted as specialized materials vanished from supply chains. Ambassador Loretta Powell stood before the Emergency Council session, her posture rigid. This would be the final official human appearance before complete isolation. "Earth has fulfilled all contractual obligations," she stated calmly. "All outstanding deliveries were completed before our withdrawal. Any current shortages reflect your failure to develop alternative sources despite our repeated warnings." "This is deliberate economic warfare," shouted the Jurathi representative, his tentacles lashing angrily. Powell's expression remained neutral. "No, this is the natural consequence of dismissing us as junior partners while depending on our resources. You cannot treat someone as both insignificant and essential." As Powell delivered Earth's final message, Captain Ryan Bennett's stealth fleet moved through the lawless Outer Rim territories. His ships, running with minimal energy signatures, tracked the movements of Quarian pirates who had previously avoided human patrols. "Target acquired," reported his tactical officer. "Quarian raider approaching the Nelbian colony." Bennett nodded. "Weapons free. Let's remind them why they used to fear these sectors." The strike was swift and devastating. The Quarian vessels, accustomed to Council defenses, had no answer for the advanced weapon systems of Earth's ships. Back in Council space, the political situation deteriorated rapidly. The Valaxians accused the Jurathi of hoarding human medical supplies. The Teln Confederation threatened military action against the Murg Empire over disputed resource routes that human peacekeepers had previously monitored. "This is exactly what the humans predicted," said Junior Counselor Praktak during a closed session. "Without their stabilizing influence, we're turning on each other." His observation was met with angry denials from the senior members, but the evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. On Earth, preparations continued. Scientist Nathan Harris stood in the control center of the North American Defense Grid, surveying the massive holographic display showing Earth's orbital protection system. "Final calibrations complete," he reported to General Julie Coleman. "The shield network is operational." Coleman nodded. "Activate the full grid. Let's show them what we've been building while they weren't watching." Around Earth, thousands of satellites and orbital platforms came online simultaneously. A shimmering energy field briefly became visible as the system initialized, then faded to transparency. Earth was now protected by defensive technology far beyond what they had shared with the Council. In the regions of space formerly occupied by humans, strange phenomena multiplied. Automated Council probes disappeared without trace. Ships reported navigation errors when passing through certain sectors. Mysterious energy readings appeared and vanished before they could be investigated. "There's something happening in the Tau Ceti corridor," reported a Council science vessel. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. It's as if." The transmission ended abruptly. When a rescue ship arrived days later, they found the vessel intact but empty. Its crew vanished without explanation. In her private chambers, Councillor Zrixthar received a visit from Vrinka, now looking even more distressed. "The humans were protecting us," the intelligence officer said without preamble. "Not just from pirates and criminals. From something worse." "Explain," demanded Zrixthar. "The anomalies appearing in former human territories. The pattern matches classified reports from before human contact. Incidents we dismissed as spatial phenomena. They knew what was out there. And now we're facing it alone." Outside Council headquarters, the stars seemed suddenly colder and more distant than ever before. The attack came without warning. 3 warships of the Draxis Imperium dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Council outpost on Proxima Station. Their weapons systems activated before the station's sensors even registered their presence. "We are under attack," shouted the station commander as the first energy blast struck the outer defensive shields. "All personnel to emergency stations." The outpost, primarily a scientific and trading hub, had minimal defenses. Its small complement of Council security vessels scrambled to respond, but they were outmatched by the heavily armed Draxis cruisers. "Why are they attacking us?" asked a junior officer. "We have no quarrel with the Draxis." "They believe we do," responded Commander Gratol grimly. "Their communications claim we're harboring human forces. They're demanding we surrender all human technology and personnel." The reality dawned on the Council leadership. The Draxis had been waiting for the humans to withdraw before launching their offensive. Without human military presence in the sector, the station was vulnerable. As the station's shields began to fail under the concentrated bombardment, unexpected sensor contacts appeared at the edge of the system. 6 sleek vessels of unfamiliar design, but bearing Earth identification markers, decelerated from FTL speeds. Commander Heather Garcia sat in the captain's chair of the lead vessel, the Shadow Black Marathon. Battle stations. Deploy Ghost Fleet in attack formation Delta. Target Draxis weapon systems only. The human ships moved with impossible speed, their advanced engines allowing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. Their hulls, covered in light-absorbing material, appeared to shift and blur against the starfield. "What are these vessels?" demanded the Draxis fleet commander as his targeting systems struggled to maintain locks on the rapidly moving ships. They matched no known human designs. The Ghost Fleet struck with precision. Concentrated energy beams disabled the weapon systems of the first Draxis cruiser without breaching its hull. The second ship found its engines suddenly offline as specialized dampening fields enveloped it. From the command center on Proxima Station, Commander Gratol watched in shock. "Those are human vessels, but they were never in our intelligence reports." Lieutenant Alan Morgan, tactical officer aboard the Marathon, activated the experimental weapon system designated Sunburst, a small probe launched from the human vessel, positioning itself between the remaining Draxis warship and the station. "Sunburst armed," he reported. "Localized disruption field ready." "Execute," ordered Commander Garcia. The probe detonated in a flash of brilliant light. When the glare faded, the Draxis ship remained physically intact, but completely powerless, drifting in space. Within 15 minutes, the attack was over. The human vessels had neutralized the Draxis threat without destroying any of their ships or causing casualties. Commander Garcia opened a communication channel to both the station and the disabled Draxis vessels. "This is Commander Heather Garcia of Earth Defense Force Ghost Fleet. Draxis forces, you will power down remaining systems and prepare for boarding. Station Proxima, you are secure for now." Commander Gratol responded with visible confusion. "We thought Earth had abandoned Council space. Why did you come to our defense?" "We withdrew from peace talks, not from our duty," Garcia replied. "The Draxis have been targeting both human and Council interests for years. You ignored our warnings. We did not ignore the threat." As Earth Marines secured the Draxis vessels, news of the encounter spread rapidly through Council communications. Within hours, representatives from 7 vulnerable Council worlds had sent urgent messages to Earth requesting protection. In the Council chambers, Military Commander Gratol presented the battle footage to the assembled representatives. The humans could have left us to our fate. Instead, they revealed advanced technology they had kept hidden from us. "We dismissed them as primitive and emotional," added Councillor Zerxthar. "Yet they predicted this threat and prepared for it while we debated." The uncomfortable truth settled over the Council. Humans had been their only real protection against external threats all along. The Council chambers had never been so quiet. Representatives from 27 civilizations sat in stunned silence as the evidence unfolded before them on the massive holographic display. These communications were intercepted from the private quarters of Chief Negotiator Volthrak, explained Vrinka, his voice echoing in the hushed room. They conclusively prove he was compromised by Draxus operatives for at least 3 years. The recording showed the Council's lead negotiator, the very official who had dismissed human concerns about border violations, secretly communicating with Draxus commanders. He had deliberately undermined Earth's position in peace talks while providing the Draxus with sensitive information about defense capabilities. "Treason," whispered one of the representatives. The word spread through the chamber like a poisonous gas. In her laboratory on Earth's Lunar Research Station, Dr. Laura Wilson finished decoding another batch of intercepted communications. The quantum encryption had been challenging, but her team had finally broken through. "The conspiracy goes deeper than we thought," she told Admiral Monroe via secure channel. "At least 5 council members were compromised, not just Volthrak. The Draxus have been playing a long game." Monroe's weathered face looked grim on the screen. "How long have they been infiltrating the Council?" "Based on these communications, at least 7 years. They'd been manipulating Council decisions since before we even joined." The revelation explained so much. The constant delays in addressing human concerns, the dismissal of evidence about Drax's border violations, the reluctance to form a unified defense strategy. Meanwhile, in deep space, Captain Frank Miller's diplomatic vessel Olive Branch emerged from FTL travel at the edge of Council space. Despite its name, the ship bristled with defensive capabilities, its sleek hull concealing weapon systems that would have violated a dozen Council regulations. "We're being hailed by Council Border Patrol," reported Communications Officer Beth Harper. Miller nodded. "Open channel. Let's see if our invitation is still valid." The Council had requested, practically begged, for a human representative to return after the Draxus attacks. Earth had agreed to send Miller with the evidence they had compiled, but only under strict security protocols. The Council's emergency session reconvened as Captain Miller presented physical data drives containing years of human intelligence on the Draxus conspiracy. "Earth has maintained an extensive intelligence network throughout Council and non-Council space," he explained. "When our concerns were repeatedly dismissed, we continued gathering evidence independently." "You knew all along?" asked Councilor Drixthar, her voice barely audible. "We suspected," Miller corrected. "Then we confirmed. But we knew our evidence would be dismissed without proof of the infiltration at the highest levels." Dr. Wilson's face appeared on a secure channel, joining the presentation remotely from her lunar lab. "The withdrawal was partially strategic," she explained. "We needed to force the Draxus to act openly once their agents could no longer control the situation from within." The Council representatives looked at each other with new understanding. The humans hadn't abandoned them in petulance. They had executed a complex strategy to expose a threat that had compromised the Council itself. "Earth is prepared to re-engage with the Galactic Council," Captain Miller continued, "but under new terms that acknowledge both our strategic value and our sovereignty." He displayed a document on the main screen, Earth's conditions for returning to the galactic community. The terms were firm but fair: equal status on the Council, joint military command in certain sectors, and complete autonomy in Earth defense matters. "These terms are unprecedented," said a Jarathi representative slowly. "So is the situation," Miller replied. "The Draxus threat continues, and they're not the only danger waiting beyond the frontier. Earth stands ready to help, but as equals, not subordinates." As the Council began reviewing the terms, a junior aide rushed in with urgent news. 3 more Council outposts had reported Draxus ships approaching their borders. The choice was becoming clearer by the minute. The newly commissioned Joint Defense Command Center hummed with activity. Located on neutral territory, an asteroid base in previously unoccupied space, it represented the first tangible result of the new Human Council alliance. Admiral Kate Foster studied the strategic display showing fleet positions across 3 sectors. After 20 years in Earth's space forces, she now found herself commanding not only human vessels but ships from 7 Council species as well. "Status of the Draxus fleet near Sector 87, she asked. A Valaxian officer responded crisply, Still holding position, Admiral. They appear to be testing our response times. Foster nodded. The Draxis had grown more cautious since their initial attacks. They now probed defenses methodically, looking for weaknesses before committing their forces. Maintain alert status. Rotate patrol schedules randomly to prevent them from establishing patterns. On the supply distribution side of operations, Earth had carefully begun reactivating critical resource lines to prevent total Council collapse. Priority went to medical supplies and food for civilian populations, with military support following close behind. The agricultural shipments have reached Velos Prime, reported Logistics Officer Kyle Bennett. Their immediate food crisis is stabilized. Foster allowed herself a small smile. Good. What about the medical supplies for the Jurathi colonies? En route with escort. Estimated arrival in 2 standard days. The escort was necessary. The Draxis had begun targeting supply convoys, understanding that strangling resources was as effective as direct military engagement. In the field, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Woods led a mixed force of human and Council Marines in defensive operations along the border regions. His unit had just repelled a Draxis incursion attempt on an outlying research station. "They're adapting to our tactics," he told his second-in-command as they secured the perimeter. This attack was more sophisticated than the last one. The Jurathi officer nodded, her tentacles twitching thoughtfully. "But so are we. My troops have learned much from your approach to small unit operations." This was the unexpected benefit of the alliance. Council species had begun adopting human military tactics, which emphasized flexibility and initiative rather than rigid adherence to doctrine. The combined forces were becoming more than the sum of their parts. Aboard the Council engineering vessel Harmony, Engineer Olivia Martinez supervised the installation of advanced shield technology on the ship's hull. Council engineers watched with fascination as the human systems integrated with their existing defenses. "This modulation frequency will adapt to Draxis weapons," she explained. "Their energy signatures are predictable once you know what to look for." "Why would your government share this technology now?" asked a curious Teln engineer. "Such advances would have given humans significant advantages in the marketplace." Martins paused her work. "Because some things are more important than market advantage. Survival, for instance. The first major test of the joint forces came 3 weeks after the alliance formed. A Draxis battle group, 15 warships strong, launched a coordinated attack against a key junction station where 3 trade routes converge. Admiral Foster deployed 3 task forces in response, 1 human, 1 council, and 1 mixed. The battle lasted 11 hours and became a turning point in the conflict. Human Squadron, execute Maneuver Theta, ordered Foster as the engagement reached its critical phase. Earth vessels performed a high-speed flanking maneuver that would have been considered reckless by Council standards. The Council ships provided disciplined fire support from defensive positions. The mixed task force adapted on the fly, combining both approaches. When the battle ended, 13 Draxis ships had been disabled or destroyed. The Alliance forces lost only 2 vessels and had protected the station successfully. In the after-action briefing, representatives from both sides spoke with newfound respect. The differences in their approaches, once a source of friction, had proven complementary in combat. "Perhaps," said one Council commander thoughtfully, "we have more to learn from each other than either side realized." The rebuilt Armstrong Station gleamed in Earth orbit, its expanded structure now housing both human and Council facilities. What had once been a simple diplomatic outpost had transformed into the headquarters for a new galactic partnership. In the central chamber, representatives from Earth and 27 Council species gathered for the formal signing of the Terran Accords. The document, displayed on a massive holographic projection for all to see, represented 6 months of intensive negotiations. Admiral Eric Johnson stood at attention near Earth's delegation, his dress uniform adorned with medals from both human and Council campaigns. Under his command, the Joint Fleet had repelled the largest Draxis invasion force yet attempted, decisively turning the tide of the conflict. We gather today to formalize what we have already proven in practice, began Council Elder Zrixthar, her voice carrying through the chamber. That humans and council species are stronger together than apart, but only when we stand as equals. The Turin Accords contained principles that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. Full human membership on the Council with equal voting rights, recognition of Earth's sovereign defense perimeter, joint military command structures, and fair trade agreements that acknowledged the true value of human contributions. Ambassador Daniel Hayes, who had led Earth's withdrawal from peace talks months ago, now stepped forward to sign the document. Earth does not seek dominance in galactic affairs, he stated clearly. We seek only the respect due to any sovereign people and the right to protect ourselves and our allies. As Hayes pressed his palm to the document scanner, officially committing Earth to the new alliance, applause erupted throughout the chamber. Later that evening, at the reception celebrating the signing, conversations reflected the profound shift in perspective that had occurred among Council species. I never understood why humans insisted on maintaining their independent military forces, admitted a Valaxian minister to Admiral Johnson. Now I see it was never about aggression, but preparation. Johnson nodded. Earth's history taught us that peace is precious but fragile. Being ready to defend it isn't warmongering, it's wisdom. Across the room, scientist Laura Wilson engaged with a group of Council researchers who had once dismissed human scientific methods as intuitive rather than rigorous. Your approach to quantum shield harmonics saved my homeworld, acknowledged a Teln physicist. We would have spent decades pursuing our traditional methodologies before reaching the same breakthrough. Different paths to the same destination, Wilson replied with a smile. That's the real strength of this alliance. In a quiet corner, Admiral Monroe shared a drink with Rinka, the intelligence officer who had first recognized the pattern of threats beyond Council space. Do you think they're really gone? Asked Vrinka. The Draxis, I mean. Monroe shook his head. Not gone. Retreated. And they're not the only threat out there. That's what I feared. Vrinka's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue hue. We were so focused on internal politics that we ignored the dangers beyond our borders. If not for Earth's vigilance. The past is past, Monroe said firmly. What matters is we face the future together. On the observation deck, Ambassador Hayes watched Earth rotating slowly below. Captain Frank Miller joined him, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. Quite a view, Miller remarked, handing Hayes a glass. Worth fighting for, Hayes agreed. And worth making peace for. Do you think it will last? This new understanding. Hayes considered the question carefully. The Council species are beginning to grasp what we've known all along, that strength and vigilance aren't contradictions to peace, but its guardians, and we've learned that we don't have to stand alone to stand strong. Below them, Armstrong Station's shadow passed over the Pacific Ocean, a small darkness followed by renewed light. In the chamber behind them, humans and aliens who had once regarded each other with suspicion now planned a common future. Beyond the station, joint patrol ships monitored the frontiers, their crews a mixture of species working in hard-won harmony. The galaxy remained dangerous, full of known threats and undiscovered challenges. But for the first time, it faced those dangers with the full combined strength of humanity and the Council, not as reluctant partners, but as equals who had learned the true meaning of alliance through adversity. 5 years after the signing of the Terran Accords, the Council chambers had transformed beyond recognition. Where once a hierarchical arrangement had placed founding species at the center and newer members at the periphery, now a circular configuration gave equal space to all 28 members, including Earth. Council President Maria Rodriguez took her position at the speaker's platform. The election of a human to the highest political office in the galaxy would have been unthinkable before the Draxis conflict. Now it seemed natural. A recognition of the balance Earth had brought to galactic politics. Fellow Council members, she began. Today we mark the 5th anniversary of our new beginning. The threat that united us has been contained, but our alliance grows stronger. The assembled representatives applauded. Even former skeptics of human involvement now acknowledge the benefits of the partnership. In deep space, the research vessel Discovery drifted at the edge of known territory. Its crew, a mixture of humans and 7 council species, monitored readings from the newly discovered Seraphim anomaly, a spatial phenomenon unlike anything previously recorded. "Energy readings are stabilizing," reported Science Officer Ben Wallace. "I think we can send in the probe." His Jurathi colleague extended a tentacle toward the launch controls. "Probe away. This discovery would have been impossible without your sensor technology, and equally impossible without your theoretical models," Wallace replied. "That's the point of all this, isn't it? The scientific partnership had perhaps been the most unexpected success of the Alliance. Human intuition and creativity combined with the meticulous methodologies of Council species had accelerated research across dozens of fields. Medical breakthroughs, energy solutions, and propulsion advances had benefited populations across the galaxy. On the frontier colony world of New Horizon, Governor Samantha Lee welcomed a group of Valaxian settlers. The planet, originally established as a human outpost, now featured neighborhoods designed for multiple species. "Your agricultural experts have been invaluable in adapting our farming techniques to this planet's soil," she told the Valaxian leader. "The hybrid crops are yielding 30% more than our original projections. And your water purification systems have allowed us to expand into regions we would have considered uninhabitable," the Valaxian replied. A fair exchange. Such practical cooperation had replaced the former transactional relationship between humans and Council species. Resources and knowledge flowed freely where barriers had once existed. The true test of the Alliance had come a year earlier, when a previously unknown species had emerged from uncharted space with hostile intent. The Vashnar, an expansionist empire from beyond the galactic rim, had expected to find divided civilizations easy to conquer. Instead, they encountered the united forces of Earth and the Council. Admiral Joseph Carter recalled that confrontation as he toured the joint training facility on Mars. Young officers from a dozen species ran combat simulations together, learning each other's strengths and compensating for weaknesses. "The Vashnar didn't expect us to stand together," he told the cadets. "They thought our differences would make us vulnerable. Instead, those differences became our greatest strength." It was true. The disciplined formations of Council vessels combined with the adaptive tactics of human ships had confused and ultimately defeated the invaders. What might have been an existential threat became instead a brief conflict ended through unified strength. In her private office after the Council session, President Rodriguez reviewed reports from throughout Allied space. Trade volumes between Earth and Council worlds had increased tenfold. Joint scientific expeditions had mapped previously unexplored regions. The Draxus Imperium remained contained within its borders, watching warily as former enemies now stood united. Vice President Kreltor, a Teln whose species had once been among the most dismissive of humans, entered with the day's final briefings. "The Frontier Development Initiative has exceeded expectations," he reported. 17 new colonies established, all with mixed populations. Rodriguez nodded. "And security. No significant threats detected." The joint fleet exercises near the Vashnar border sent a clear message. As night fell over Council headquarters, lights glowed in offices and homes housing dozens of species working toward common goals. The galaxy remained vast and largely unknown, with dangers and wonders yet to be discovered. But it would face whatever came not as fragmented civilizations, but as a united force, one that had learned the hardest of lessons, that true strength comes not from dominance but partnership, not from uniformity but diversity of thought and approach.